Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva nartum devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayodira nashta prayasho bandresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamashoki Nigama kapadura garitam param shukamakaramita jovi samitam pivata bhagatam rashamarhorari vishikaham Krishna sadamupagate dhammagiri karunashta dishamasha parana kodunodidam Twamapiya davishruta vishrutam vibhosam apyarana vidam brikshana prakyahidam homaradam Sanklesha nirvana musanti nanyataham Om Ganati Miranda Shangana Gana Sarakaya Chaksurun Militam Yana Tajmai Sri Garavena Sri Chaitanya Manovisam Stapitam Yana Bhutare Swayam Rupakaramayam Darati Swaparantigam Vandeham Sri Guru Sita Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sa Sri Rupam Jagadam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Larita Shivishakan Vidam Stam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jigapate Gopisha Gopika Kantara Kantanamostute Jayaram Surido Pango Mam Minir Matir Kadi Matsavasha Parambo Jaradana Madanamo Sriman Rasa Rasaram Vivam Sivran Karsan Bene Center Vigo Pinas Riyasanam Divyadvindarani Kapadrumada Srimadatna Gana Sima Sanisto Sri Sri Radha Shurugovan Prasadabi He Seva Manushmarami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govinaya Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamani Nastaya Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pachani Nirvishesani Vadibhaskata Desana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Transcendental Tuesday, the day after Radhastami, the holiest of holy days. How are you doing, Rob? What's the word?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Feeling much better today.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, unfortunately, I was not able to make it to the temple last night. I had the BRG recovery meeting that I was hosting, so I was still doing service, but it was unfortunate I was not able to make it up to the temple, but I also needed some good rest as well.
Great. In case you didn't know, Rob's hosting a recovery group under the auspices of Wisdom of the Sages. And so it wasn't that he missed the temple functions because of not doing service. He was just doing a different type of service on that evening. So glad you dropped in this morning, Rob. Also, thanks for joining us, Jean, Rakesh, Sanjay, Vaibhavi, all of you. I was a little late getting on board this morning. As you know, we're gearing up for the Festival of Colors, which is just about 10 days away. We hit a peak of sales 2 days ago. We sold $900 worth of tickets during one day, and we felt like we're just getting traction, kind of hitting the peak of our advertising campaign, our social media, the money we put into social media and calendars, all is just starting to come back to us. And what should happen but the ticketing website went down. It was down all day yesterday. So people that went to our website as a result of our campaign and clicked on register, buy tickets, they went to a blank screen all day long. So safe to assume we lost maybe $1,000 worth of sales. And this morning I checked and still down. So I'm just a little bit under the gun here today, which is why I was a minute or two late. Krishna consciousness is all about mind control, and I'm experiencing an excellent, a wonderful, unprecedented opportunity to keep my mind under control, to keep it cool and calm and not get freaked out. And that's what happens when you stretch your faith and you try to do out of the ordinary things. You try to pull off a big festival like this in a place like Utah, where there's a lot of homogeneity. It's a sort of a uniculture. It's successful. It goes on for a number of years. So when you try big things for Krishna, then you get big challenges. And learning how to meet those challenges and absorb those challenges and ride those waves, so to speak, and having the history on multiple occasions of being faced with something that seems big and difficult and it's meant to stop you, and having the experience of Krishna resolving the situation, turning it around, and bringing you out, in fact, better off than you were before, it's a wonderful journey. It makes life exciting. It's not dull and predictable. And so we're right in the middle of one of those challenges. It's not by any means the biggest challenge we've ever faced, not even close. But it's a bump in the road. It's at the worst possible time. And we're moving into the second day where we can't sell tickets to our festival, in spite of the fact that we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars invested in just that purpose, to get people to go to the link and sell tickets. It's not our fault. It's the people that we trust in order to deliver that service to us, and who we pay also, amongst other things. So I'm having a lot of fun keeping my mind from wandering. It's not that the mind will not wander. That's its tendency, that's its habit since millions and millions of life. But what I'm finding is the key to mind control is bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. You have these periods where you're just gone. You're chanting some slokas, you're chanting your rounds, and all of a sudden you realize you've been away. You have not been in the present. You have not been attentive to what it was that you're doing. And you don't even know how long it was that you went away for. It's just a blank. It's just a space. And I think my mind's pretty acute for my age, but I guess this is what old age is. Old age is just like missing huge chunks of time because the mind wanders. But fortunately, due to many, many decades of Krishna consciousness, we do have the ability to bring the mind back, even if we're not sure whether it was away for 2 seconds or 2 minutes or 10 minutes. But so far, so good. The mind is coming back. And when we bring the mind back to the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, we know there's absolutely nothing to worry about. Krishna's got this. Krishna's still on his throne. It's during those times when the mind wanders. And it's the reason why the mind wanders is because we have a lapse of faith in Krishna. If our faith was grounded and consistent and unwavering, yata dipo nivatashto nenkatesho, yata goenishita yunjato yogamara, just like the lamp in a windless place, it doesn't waver. If our mind achieves that position of unwavering contemplation on Krishna, there'll never be any worry. There'll never be any anxiety, no matter what comes against us. Yam labda chapanan manite yajman stiko duken gurinapi vichayate. A person who's absorbed, situated, fixed, right in the middle of Krishna consciousness. Yam labda chapanan. It doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter what catastrophe, what upheaval, what reversal comes into his individual life or to the collective surroundings. He still feels himself to be the most fortunate and the most happy. So that's what we aspire for. And it's on days like this that I realize Krishna consciousness works and we're making some progress. We're not there because my mind did wander this morning, but I was able to bring it back repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. And I brought it back. If I didn't bring it back to bear on the task at hand, exactly when the clock ticked from 7:29 to 7:30, at least I was here by 7:32, okay? You guys are witnesses. You guys can bear me out on this. So I was a little late, but I'm here. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Rakesh reports that about 70 people went to the festival on a Monday night in Salt Lake City. He says it was a great, great festival. I was, again, under the weight of a lot of things, of which the ticket platform being down was just one of about 10 things. So I was not able, I had planned to go, but in the end it was just like, there was no way. There was no way. Bhai Bobby says, do the ticket folks refund the loss? Ha, ha. The answer to that is ha, ha. They are unavailable. They are not answering my queries. All of a sudden, strangely, they're AWOL. Eka prabhadyate dvatam hitpadam sanakushale tarapatidya buddhadrayan This doesn't apply to the devotees because the devotees are never alone. Even when the whole world abandons them, even when your family turns its back on you because they want you to be a doctor or a lawyer instead of a robe-wearing, Hare Krishna chanting devotee. It says you're never alone because Krishna is there. But those who are in material consciousness, who are in consciousness devoid of God consciousness, they're always alone. They work alone. They earn money alone. They commit crimes alone. Although they support many, many family members, feed them, give them credit cards and the facility to buy often gifts for themselves and live in a lavish lifestyle. A person who earns all that and supports all those people, he himself doesn't have time. He's always busy earning money that others are going to enjoy. So even in the midst of family members, even in the midst of co-workers, even while he's running a company, he's alone. And when he dies, everybody's surrounding him, everyone's crying, everyone's pretending to miss him, but they're really just going to miss the facilities, the amenities that he provides for them. There's no real love there. There's no real support. So he works alone, he lives alone, he commits his crimes alone. He's basically accruing karma that he alone will have to undergo. He dies alone, and then it says, Eka prabhanyatedam hitpanam sukha. Leave it hitpanam kadai. With the time he leaves the body, Eka prabhanyate, he goes to a hellish condition alone. And the money that he earned alone, in order to support his many, many family members, is the ticket money by which he purchases his ticket to hell. So thank God that Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sanatan Goswami saved us from that type of abysmal, desolate, interminable loneliness. Because a devotee is never alone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Krishna is always there. He's always supporting him. When he's walking, Krishna's walking by his side. When he stumbles, Krishna's there. The devotee can take Krishna's arm to upright himself and steady himself. When you go to sleep, Krishna will stay awake, watching over you during the night. And when you wake up, Krishna will be there to help you stand upright again. And Krishna, you may have forgotten, but Krishna will remember the journey you're on. Krishna will remember the destination to which you're traveling. And he will help you resume the journey where you left off the night before. So Krishna is there in the morning, he's there in the afternoon, he's been there in the past, he's here in the present, even in the midst of dangers, and he'll always be there in the future. So thank the Lord for the blessing of Krishna consciousness. All right, I think it's about time, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, that we begin a new verse. Transcendental Tuesday. We've progressed to the 23rd verse in the 5th chapter, the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, conversation between Narada Muni and the disciple, the great sage Vyasadeva. Aham puratita bhava bhavan mune dasyastu kasaschana vedavadanam nirupato balam eva yoginam susushane pravesha nivipshatatam. O Muni, in the last millennium I was born as the son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of Brahmins who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. There are 4 months when the rains come after the dryness and the heat. The rains come and it's very difficult to travel because of the mud and the downpour and the deluge. And so the sages who normally travel stay in one place. They perform austerities. They eat very simple, unspiced, unsalted foods from a leaf on the floor without using their hands. They lean over while sitting, eat. That causes them stomach muscles to clench while they're eating. They eat less. They don't shave. They let their beards grow. And most of all, they engage, they heighten, they increase their hearing and chanting amongst each other. They sit there stationary in one place, but they resonate with the kata, topics about the heroic, extraordinarily powerful, beneficent, supreme personality of Godhead. Narada Muni tells Vyasadeva that in his previous life he was not well educated, he was not high born, he wasn't very well connected. He was the son of a maidservant. He didn't know who his father was. You know all about that, don't we? Single parenting epidemic in the current age. But there was one fortunate thing about his situation is that his mother, who didn't have a husband, who had produced Narada Muni out of what we call wedlock nowadays, was engaged in serving the Brahmins while they were gathered during the rainy season. So imagine all these Brahmins who are normally dispersed. It says, Bhutanamiya sambhasha prapayame devinayakatar unitam shakarmavi. Prahlad Mar, or the sage to whom Yudhisthira talks in the 7th canto, says that people are brought together like travelers. Travelers come from different roads. Usually inns are situated at intersections, or at least there's 4 roads coming together, or 2 roads crossing, or maybe even more, like the spokes of a wheel. People come from different directions. They, it's evening, they buy a meal and they rent a room in the inn, and they talk and they get to know each other casually. But when the morning comes, everyone resumes their journey and goes off in different directions. So the nature of their traveling brought them together. They intermingled and intermixed for one short period of time, and then they dispersed. And so similarly in our lives, we come together in terms of family, friends, and country for some time, like travelers in an inn. And then after some time again, we're dispersed and we all go our separate directions according to our karma. So it was Narada Muni's great good fortune that the sadhus, the Krishna conscious devotees, were all in congregation during the 4 months of the rainy season, and his mother was serving them. And everybody knows when there's a child who has no father in an area, in an environment where there are very many compassionate, kindly persons, you kind of adopt the child. Everyone looks out for the child. Everyone has a good word for the child. Everyone kind of takes a fatherly position with respect to the child. So Prabhupada says in the purport here, he says it was an atmosphere surcharged, electrified, galvanized by the service of the Lord. You can just imagine the power. The air itself is crackling with pure devotional service, prema and bhava. And an impressionable boy, a young boy who was very impressionable, just having entered into the world. What guidelines do we have? What indications, what directions does a child just recently enter into the world? There was nothing. It's conscious like a clean slate. They're going to soak up like a sponge the sounds and the visual impressions, the tastes, the touches, the smells around them. Because they're learning. They're learning about this new world. And they're assimilating with their young minds. They're with blazing speed, they're integrating, processing, and digesting everything that inputs into their sensual faculties. So here is this boy. He's, from a social point of view, there's not much going for him. In other words, if you were to describe a boy like this to a counselor, a youth counselor, the term he would use or she would use is a youth at risk. Very little percentage of that child developing in a wholesome, well-adjusted way. Such children generally are very challenged without a father, without an education, to adjust properly to society and end up being solid, wholesome, law-abiding, contributory citizens. So Narada Muni would have been described by youth counselors today as a youth at risk. But what is the variable here, the factor in his favor in the equation is that he's in an atmosphere surcharged with the devotional service. And over and over again, we bring up this point, the devotional service to the Lord, so powerful that it more than counteracts for any so-called negative situation. If you don't have a father, but you're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, and you have an attachment to one or more devotees of the Krishna, what happens is you don't have a father, Krishna will adopt you as his own. He will adopt you as his own son. He will personally take you under his shelter, under his wing. And the problem with most people is they think they got it covered. They got a dad, they got a mom, they got an education, they got connections, they got good look, they got good birth. They don't need God. They don't need God. The last thing on their mind is to make themselves dependent on God. No, just the opposite. They're proud of their opulences, their affluences, and they stand on the platform of independence. But having nothing going for him in terms of social graces or position or education or connections, Narada Muni, he just relished, he reveled in the patronizing glances and words of the sages. He tucked himself with a full desire to be completely dependent. He tucked himself under the sheltering wings of the Bhaktivedantas, and by proxy under the wings, the parental loving wings of the Supreme Personality of God. So, because he was properly engaged and his energy was dovetailed in the service of the Lord, the result was that he became an immortal sage in his next life. He's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita itself. Such is the powerful effect of devotional service. Now, we're described, living beings, the life force, as being marginal. There's the spiritual energy of the Lord, and then there's the material energy. There's the internal, and there's the external. There's the eternal, and then there's the temporary. Now, we are eternal spirit souls. Nenam chandanti sastani, nenam dadat, chinam kladiyam, na society. We can't be cut by a weapon. We can't be burned by fire. We can't be withered by the wind. We can't be drowned by water. We're of the same nature as Krishna. Natu evatma jatunasham, natum nevam nachava namishuni saravayam. Krishna says to Arjuna, you and I are the same. We're the same. Now, don't misunderstand that to mean that you're God. Just means that you have the same nature. You're a spark from the fire, and as such, you have the qualities of light and heat, but the spark is never going to be equal to the fire. Okay, so don't go there, please. Go somewhere else. Go to some other podcast. Go somewhere else. But that's not what we're saying. Krishna says to Arjuna, we're one, but the oneness is a oneness of quality, not of quantity. And because we're not quantitatively equal to the Lord, we're called marginal. The Lord never falls down. The Lord never becomes confused. He never becomes tempted, tempered, or conditioned by the modes of material nature. He's always transcendental. He's above ignorance. He's above illusion. He has no shortcomings. And we're from him, that's true, but because we're small, we're insignificant. We're the part and not the whole. We're the particle of sunlight, not the sunshine, or not the sun globe. We are said to be marginal. Jivara Sharupai Nitya Krishnadas, Krishna Tatasta Shakti Beta Beta Prakash. Beta Beta. Beta means we're the same with God in quality. Abeta means we're not as powerful as he is. Therefore, we're Tatashta. We're marginal. We are spirit, part of the internal energy of the Lord. But we're surrounded by, enveloped by, conditioned by this material inferior body. The body changes. All the cells of the body, every 7 to 10 years, they replace themselves and die. So if you live 80 or 90 years, you've basically had 8 or 9 different bodies. And yet you, the individual entity within that body, you don't change. Let's just look at normal grammatic saying. I am a toddler. I am a juvenile. I'm a delinquent. I'm a student. I'm a single man. I'm a married man. I'm a father. I'm a retiree. I'm a golfer. I'm an RVer. These are various sentences of ways we could describe ourselves during the various phases of our lives. So that the object of each sentence changes. Toddler, adolescent, juvenile, single man, married man, father man, businessman, retiree, golfer, RVer. That changes. The object of each sense changes. Why? Because it refers to the body, which is always in a state of change. What to speak of every 7 years, the body changing. Today's body is not the same as yesterday's body. Tomorrow's body will not be the same as today's body. There's incremental changes that occur every day, every moment, in fact. And yet now let's go back to our grammar. I. The subject of each and every sentence. I did not change. So that means that throughout various changes of body, I don't change. That means I am of the same eternal, unchanging nature as God, but some other, because I'm smaller than God. He's infinite and I'm infinitesimal. I have become involved in, enveloped in, and conditioned by matter. So the eternal spirit soul in this material body is affected by the miseries of birth, death, disease, and old age. He's affected by miseries due to the body and mind, miseries due to material nature, and miseries due to other living entities. These are the threefold miseries of material nature which harass the eternal living entity. That's all extraneous, it's all unnecessary, provided we awaken our original Krishna consciousness, turn things around and go back home, back to Godhead. Otherwise, we can go either way. We can turn around, we can remember Krishna, we can serve him with our hands and our eyes and our mouth. The poet said, this is the mentality of someone who has reversed the trend towards material entanglement. This is someone who is bringing to a grinding halt the revolution of birth, death, disease, and old age. They think and they pray in this way. Take my life, Lord, and let it be consecrated to thee. Take my moments and my days. Let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for thee. Take my lips and let them sing, always only for my King. Take my mouth and let it be filled with messages from thee. Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my intellect and use every power as thou shalt choose. Take my will and make it thine, it shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is thine own, shall be thy royal throne. Take my love, my Lord, I pour at thy feet its treasure sore. Take myself, and I will be ever only all for thee. You know what's happening there? The inner, eternal, spiritual body is reawakening. As you serve the Lord with your hands and your mouth and your eyes and your senses themselves regain their original spiritual nature. So that from within this gross, basically dull, dark material body, there is an awakening, there is a revival, there is a renaissance of the original spiritual soul. And it's only a matter of time before that soul goes back home, back to God. And sometimes we get reverses, sometimes we get challenges, just like there's so many challenges involved in putting on a festival the size of the Festival of Colors. And there's going to be problems, and there's going to be difficulties, and there's going to be stress. But all of that is burning away the dross. It's burning away our attachment to this material world. It's purifying us. And we are going to arise from this material, mortal, perishable, decaying tabernacle like the fire arises from wood and go back to home, back to Godhead. We get the beginning of Narada Muni's story here, but the last chapter, I'll give you a preview of coming attractions. It says, Evam Krishna Matya Brahma Nashakta Kale Pradur Babat Tadid Saramaniyata. This boy, born of humble circumstances of a single parent, because of his association with and attachment to the Bhaktivedantas, he becomes Krishna consciousness to such a degree that at the time of leaving his body, his spiritual body is already fully in place underneath this material covering. He says, because of my Evam Krishna Mater Brahma. Mater means consciousness, and Brahma means spirit. It means that his consciousness is no longer focused on matter, but his consciousness is absorbed in spirit. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagna, Brahmaivatantakanam, Brahmakarmasanam. For one who's engaged in Krishna consciousness, the actor is spiritual, the result is spiritual, the paraphernalia is spiritual, The energy is spiritual. Everything is spiritualized about someone engaged in the service of the Lord. Prabhupada gave the example. Take iron. It's dull, it's dead, it's dark, it has its own inert nature, but you put it in fire and you keep it in fire long enough, become hot, hotter, red hot, and then you can take that iron bar and use it as fire. So at the time of leaving his body, Narada Muni, being inspired in the formative years by the association of the great saints, following their example, he had become so surcharged with Krishna consciousness that he was able to just drop this material body. It's like a fire. It not only ascends from, but it consumes the wood from which it comes. In the third chapter, I think it is, of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yatedam Shri Samirgnir Bhajmasat Kuru Gyanagni Sabhikam Tamahupane. The nature of devotional service is so powerful that not only do we lose our taste and put a distance, we put behind us, we turn our back on all of those endeavors for fruit of work, fruit of results, sense gratification. And we put distance between ourselves. And not only do we become disinterested in materialistic temporal activities on the strength of devotional service, but the acts of devotion that we perform for the satisfaction of the Lord burn up the past results of sinful activities, just as fire burns wood. It burns wood to ashes. And similarly, this body, we leave it behind to be buried or burned or thrown into a forest path. But the soul, being purely Krishna consciousness, like fire, ascends from wood and go back home, back to God. 500 years ago, a great devotee who was to be known eventually to us as Sri Sanatana Goswami, approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, in his devotional incarnation. Yesterday we celebrated the appearance of Radharani. So Radharani appeared 500 years ago. She appeared 5,000 years ago as Krishna's consort. And she also appeared in the form, combined form of Radha Krishna as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago. And Radharani is our patron saint. Radharani is our guide, our guru, our protector, and it is she who shows us the way back to home, back to God. She engages us in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, his reason for descending all the way from the spiritual world, was Vairaga Bija Nija Bhakti and Shiksharti Meka Purusha. He was none other than Supreme Personality of Godhead as Radha Krishna combined. And his mission was to comport and conduct himself in such a way that by following his example, imitating him, if you will, we will become completely purified. We will burn all of our past sinful activities to ashes and go back to home, back to Godhead. But we must approach Lord Chaitanya or his bona fide representative, our spiritual master, in a mood of humility. We've been going on it own. We've been going it on our own. We've been puffed up. We've been arrogant. We've been taken, enamored with our opulence, our good birth, our good looks, our parentage, our bank balance. We might have taken birth in a great country. We might have gotten used to being number one, the one to whom everyone in all the other countries of the world look. But we have to get over that. Follow the example of Sanatana Goswami. He made his life perfect. The starting point was he put a straw in his teeth and he lay down like a rod. Danda means rod. So when you do your dandavats, you lay down flat in the dust like a rod. And Sanatana Goswami, moreover, he put a straw in his teeth. And he was basically indicating by his body language to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm no longer submitting myself to the material nature which has been cheating me lifetime after lifetime after engaging, absorbing, dominating, terrorizing my energy, my resources, my intellect, and leaving me with nothing but misery and suffering. Eka, I have worked repeatedly in past lives, even to the point of committing crimes, simply to satisfy my family members who have lived lives of indulgence on my back, on the strength of my work, and I have gone over and over and over again as a result, as a reward for all of my familial efforts. I've gone to hell alone. And the money that I've earned from my family members has been the ticket that I pay for my journey to hell. If you want to go to Hawaii, and it's going to cost you, I don't know, from Salt Lake City, I don't know what it, maybe if it's on sale, you can get a ticket from Salt Lake City International Airport, probably change in LAX. You can even book a rental car and a hotel for maybe $500, for 3 or 4 days in Hawaii. Now, if you want to go to New York, New Jersey, or Camden, or Chicago, it's going to cost you $500 as well. It's not going to, the price is the same. So if you got $500, then consider where you're going to buy the ticket, because it's the same money, but depending on how you spend it, you're going to get a different result. Kapila tells his mother, you've got the asset, you've got the time in this human form of life, and depending on how you spend your time, you're going to either go to heaven or to hell. You're either going to go back to home, back to God, or you're going to go to hellish condition of life. So the time that we have in this human form of life is the currency. It's our $500. Now it's up to you how you want to spend it. He says that same money which you have been, historically speaking, spending to go to Newark, New Jersey, and Camden, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his representatives, now you have an option. You have an alternative. You can take that same $500, the day, minutes, hours, and seconds of its human form of life, and you can spend them to serve Krishna, in which case all of your negative reactions are going to be burned up. You're going to be free from the conditions which have caused you to take rebirth multiple times in the past, and you're going to go back home, back to Godhead. But you have to start with humility. You have to start with faith. You have to approach the spiritual master submissively, with a sense of inquiry, it's true, but also determined to support your inquisitiveness by serving, by assisting the spiritual master. You'll notice that in the history of Narada Muni, he didn't have good birth, he didn't have good parentage, he didn't have good ed, he didn't have good resources, but his one asset was that he and his mom did what? Served. They served. A 5-year-old boy, the son of a single mother, the emblem of humility, no pretension, no hypocrisy, no arrogance. What can I do? The full expression of his heart, the eagerness. Go bring water. Oh, thank you. Cut up vegetables in the kitchen. Oh, thank you, Lord. Yes, this is the attitude. The end result of which is that one will burn up all of one's material pretensions. One's spiritual body will envelop and unfold, and one will go back to home, back to God. So what were the words that Sanatana Goswami tendered to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he lay in the dust like a rod with a straw in his feet? How does he describe his own situation? Well, it's pretty reminiscent of Narada Muni. There's a lot of commonalities there. And we also, when we think about our upbringing, I don't know about our Indian friends, but if you're a Westerner like me, it's not pretty. We were born in a family of meat eaters, consumers of alcohol, womanizers, people who are sold out to the idea of sense gratification and material aggrandizement and acquisitiveness. And this is all we had modeled in our formative years. We were not fortunate enough to have grown up in the family of devotees, to hear the Bhagavad Gita being discussed, to hear the bell at Arti take prasadam on our young tongues, to learn how to play the musical instruments and play kirtan. We had none of those advantages growing up. So in many ways, we're not too dissimilar from Sanatana Goswami and Narada Muni, which means we have the same opportunity that they have if we add that one element of service to the devotees of the Lord to our lives in the same way that they did, then every negative thing is trumped, eclipsed, and counteracted. So here's what Sanatana Goswami said. When you apply for a job or for a position and you make out your resume, you tell all of your accomplishments and all of your achievements. You really build it up. You embellish, you add a little something here and there. You can't lie because they might call your former employees and they're going to get the truth from them. So you can't lie, but if you're really expert, you can kind of tweak it and embellishment and use some creative writing in such a way that maybe they won't even call. Maybe they'll just accept it for face value. But if they call, you won't be caught out in any lies, maybe exaggeration, hyperbole, or a little bit of self-glorification. But when you apply for the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you do just the opposite. You don't talk about your material qualifications. You talk about all those so-called material qualifications as disqualifications. You talk about how you have no qualifications. You know nothing. Prabhupada told the story. Vienna, I passed through Vienna once when I was a teenager traveling through Europe. I spent a couple days there. It's a great music center. Many of the great composers, pieces of music were composed in Vienna, and it's a great teaching center. Students come from all over the world to get a teacher and to learn the instrumentation, symphonies, and musical instruments. So the first question the teacher in Vienna, the music teacher, asks the student is, have you studied music before? And if the student says yes, the fees are twice. You'd think the fees would be less because they've studied more. They know how to read music. They know some fingering on their musical instrument. They've had some experience. But the reason the teacher charges twice is because the likelihood is they've learned wrong. They've been misinstructed, misdirected. So he has to unlearn, has to work twice as hard to unlearn, to unteach them what they've learned before they can start at zero. Whereas if the student hasn't had any previous music training, the fees are less because they're just starting from scratch. So when Sanatana Goswami lay down before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with the straw in his street, he didn't present himself accomplished in any way. He actually presented himself as disqualified in so many ways. Nija jati nija sangi patidharamam kubishaya kupapati going jama. Imagine if you wanted a job and this is what you put on your resume. Nija jati nija sangi patidharamam kubishaya kupapati going jama. It would take the personnel director, the hiring guy in that company, about a nanosecond to file your application in what they call the circular file, throw it in the trash. Imagine if you were a hirer of a company, you have the responsibility for hiring and firing, you got this application in the mail. I was born in a low family. My associates are all low-class men. I myself am fallen and am the lowest of men. Indeed, I have passed my whole life in the well of sinful materialism. Oh my gosh, that's what you put on your resume. Totally disqualifying you from getting even a janitorial job. You wouldn't even get a job you wouldn't even be hired as a street sweeper if that's what you put on your resume. That's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was looking for. Janmai Shariya Shuddha Shabhyade Mama Nirvariti, from those who are enamored with good birth, wealth, and sophistication, good looks, and education. They're totally disqualified from the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sanatana Goswami goes on, Apanada Hita Hita Janmani Najani Grami Vyavare Pandita Se Tatpamani. And if you're not aware of it, Sanatana Goswami was born of a Brahmin family. He knew 4 or 5 languages. He was a poet, he was an artist, and he was running the entire state of Bengal along with his brother for the Nawab Hussein Shah. So let's not take what he's saying at face value. This is coming from a deep well of humility, which actually, when you think about it, can only come from a high class, noble minded person. So for him to be able to say this about himself indicates that it's really not true. I mean, if you're judging it from a materialistic point of view. If Sanatana Goswami were to submit a resume and says, I know 4 or 5 different languages, I'm born from a Brahmin family, I know accountancy, I know law, I know economics, I've got my MBA, he would get hired anywhere. But he's not considering those material achievements and the material accolade and success that comes to him as of any value. In fact, he's considering those disqualifications. So he doesn't, out of his high-mindedness, he doesn't mention any of that when he approaches Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he knows that will not impress Lord Chaitanya. 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The Janmana Nam Mahato Vashobagam Navan Burishnakata Teryad Vishasana Banuga Chakara Shaka Baladan. Janmana Nam Mahato Vashogam. Lord Ram, who is Krishna himself, is not impressed in the Janma no Nam Mahato. He's not impressed by good birth, the Janma Mahato, by great qualities of birth and education. The Janma no Nam Mahato, Nabanda Bhutish, not by your high intelligence, Nakritish, not by anything that you do, not by any positions that you've had, or any accomplishments that you could say. Janma no Nam Mahato, Naban Bhutish, Nakritish, Toshahi too. It all is as naught. It all comes to zero from the terms of material qualifications. Otherwise, how could Lord Ram have accepted a bunch of monkeys under his shelter and protection? How could Lord Ram have accepted as his partners in the great epic endeavor of besieging Lanka and retrieving the goddess of fortune back to the side of Narayan? How could these monkeys, uncultured, uncivilized, crude monkeys, have been chosen to serve Lord Ram? And when Lanka was defeated and Sita was retrieved, and they went back to Ayodhya, when Ram's period of exile coincided with the defeat of Ravan and the conquering of Lanka and the retrieval of Prita, they all boarded flower airplanes and went back to Ram's capital city, Ayodhya. And all the monkeys crowded into the airplanes. Ram said, come on. He and Sita didn't say, oh boy, these monkeys smell bad. No, they got fur. They're mischievous. They're uncultured. Ram invited them on board his very own airplane and the accompanying airplanes, and they all went back to Ayodhya. And of course, when they got to Ayodhya, the monkeys, they love to go swing around trees and eat fruits, and they kind of cause havoc when they do that. So they were in Ayodhya doing what they do, what they're conditioned to by their material bodies, and they were breaking down all the parks and trees and everything, and the citizens were complaining, Ram, we're glad to have you back, but these monkeys are like a plague. Ram said, never mind. Never mind, they can do any mischief. They're eternally my associates. I give them my eternal protection. They can never, because of their love for me, incur the results of sinful actions again. They are never again under the influence of the external material energy, but they have attained the never-ending shelter of my lotus feet. But more on this topic tomorrow, if you don't mind. It's okay with you. Wisdom Wednesday. And after tomorrow, we've got to knuckle down and spend all of our time dealing with the preparations and the challenges of putting on the Festival of Colors here on the 25th and 26th of September. So my expectation is that I will not be able to come on next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and maybe not even the following because of all the cleanup that's involved. So we'll have one more of these early morning sessions together, which are so sweet. Then we'll have 2 weeks where we won't see each other online. Maybe some of you will be at the festival, like Brent and others, like Govinda Dev, Vaibhavi, of course. But if you're coming to us from a distant place, we'll have one more session together tomorrow, and then it'll be a couple weeks before we resume this. In the meantime, wish us well. Wish us not only a successful festival, but that we may, in the course of executing that festival, become purified, become categorized, that the trial by fire may burn away some of our impurities and material attachments, and we may thereby get closer to our ultimate goal of being consumed and absorbed in uninterruptedly and unselfishly in the devotional service of the Lord. But tomorrow we'll be back with the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami, and inasmuch as they resonate and coordinate with the experience of Narada Muni as well. Thanks once again, Bhakti Gary, for being with us. Vaibhavi says the monkeys picked up family members on the way back to Ayodhya. So there was a whole nation of monkeys that descended on Ayodhya. The citizens who were in their comfort zone, not used to great upheavals in their lives, because that's what family life is all about. It's all about insurance policies and a nice solid brick house and a good reliable car with safety features and so on and so forth. You try to insulate yourself against any vicissitudes and any upheavals. So imagine when Ram descended on Ayodhya with not only the monkeys that had fought with him in Lanka, but also, my voice says, they picked up all their friends and relatives. But none of that was able to sway Lord Ram. When the citizens complained, Ram staunchly upheld the right of his monkey associates to celebrate in the parks and groves and orchards of Ayodhya. Hare Krishna, my dear friend Dhirubhai, thinking about you, remembering all the sweetness when it was you and your family were in Utah. Dhirubhai would always come to the Sunday feast. His wife, Neera, would bring me paratas, wonderful things. They'd attend Festival of Colors and support us, but then circumstances caused them to move out of state a number of years ago, back to Lancaster. We're missing them. Shukshma, Camden, New York. She knows all about that. She's been everywhere in the United States. Yeah, she knows where there's beaches and national parks, and she knows where there's industrial complexes and factories. She knows it all. She's seen it all from the seat of RVs and trucks that she's in the business of transporting. She's asking about the poem Take My Life. That was Frances Havergal. Frances Havergal. She lived, I think, towards late 1800s. Good morning, Govinda Dev. Who else? Rakesh, thank you very much. Sanjay Sharma, thanks for joining us. Jean Eskelson. Appreciate all of you. If you haven't done it yet, hit a like or hit a heart or something. Create a little bit of traffic, a little bit of a buzz here. That'll help us out. That'll encourage us. That'll push us higher in terms of the Facebook algorithms. So we'll get on now with the things that we have to do, as will you. Hopefully we'll carry some of these lessons. It's a nice afterglow, inspiration, in the service and the work that we have to do throughout the rest of the day. And we'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.